for that.
Dr. Joshua Wee believes a balance with careful visits from loved ones could save lives. Tammy still thinks about what she would say to her dad.
It wasn't our choice, and I'm sorry, and boy, that's not what I wanted.
She hopes more families can soon say it in person.
I love you.
I love you.
Kristen Dahlgren, NBC News, New York.
Up next for us tonight, the unlikely football sensation. Tonight, the big reward for college football's newest star. Here's Katie Beck.
Wake Forest football starting strong this season. Partly thanks to the power plays of number 45, defensive back Nick Anderson.
Did anybody expect that he would be having this kind of a season?
I don't know if you expect any freshman, let alone a preferred walk-on, to have this type of season.
A walk-on standout who played Saturday's game against Virginia Tech with skill and heart, nailing 3 interceptions and 11 tackles. The unexpected victory cause for celebrating. Anderson hoisted up as a hero.
Whether you're a walk-on or the #1 guy, on the team, everyone's treated the same. And I felt that since day one.
On the field after the game, another unexpected win. But this one, just for Anderson.
Okay, in the spring, he's going to be on scholarship.
That scholarship, a reason for him to work even harder.
Each one of my teammates is going to go out with 100% effort, and, I want to play for them. I want to play for the school. I want to play for my family.
And for unforgettable victories that catch us by surprise. Katie Beck, NBC News.
We'll be right back. Traveling around the country this week, talking to voters, one thing has already become clear. The 2020 election is in many ways just that, a referendum on the year 2020, the year that brought us sickness, that's taken loved ones and friends, taken jobs, brought us unrest in our streets, and tested the meaning of truth. Are we a divided nation? You bet we are. Angst, uncertainty, and fear will do that. Rarely has an election ever been so personal for so many, or the stakes so consequential. And now, after all the passion and anger, the quiet power of voting will speak to and for our future. That's Nightly News for this Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow from Pennsylvania. Good night, everyone. Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here.
And sometimes it's here, sometimes it's here. That's how Chopin disguises the fact that this is just a 4-note group. Just the same thing over and over again, but because of where it lies rhythmically, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. It sounds more variegated, complex, and difficult than it actually is. So what we would do here, we would avoid the temptation to see each measure as a group, that I can somehow lay my hand over all the notes of this measure, spread my fingers out, and somehow get all of those, maybe 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 or something. Then go here, spread my hand out over this measure and try to get it, spread my hand out over this measure and try to get it. The fact that we beam together like that is very deceptive, because that has nothing to do with how we play it physically. It only has to do with how it is organized metrically. Chopin took advantage of this and hid simple, elegant, ergonomically beautiful groups within stuff like that. So in my opinion, that's where we have to start, by finding these internal groups that are logical and ergonomic, that don't often match with the meter. That's very much the case in Chopin. And once we see what the groups are, the fingering is often quite easy. Now I'm going to show you something else. These are little sort of looping lines I've drawn, and what I mean by this,
part of practicing and mastering a piece is memorizing, and this is often quite uncomfortable and needs lots of effort. On piano.social you can really learn how to play piano. You can do it in a fun, exciting way, and you can make lots of friends. And there is always a professional beside you who is up to supporting your studies. This is my promise. To get a better feel of piano.social, I want you to imagine a few things. Now, you have your own piano teacher. Anytime you have a problem or question, you can contact your teacher and get professional advice. Also, you are not alone here. You can say goodbye to loneliness. There is a group of friends who share your journey and are up to communication. And of course, you can learn how to play piano, and it means that you can play the pieces that you love. I would like you to meet me. On piano.
Исполнять мечты проще с Райфайзенбанком.
I want to just begin this segment here with the contrast specifically to Joe Biden. Each of you have links to Trump. In some ways, your lives might be easier to just not be out and around this week. Starting with Jack down the line, why specifically do you think Joe Biden is better than Trump for America now?
Well, it comes down to one simple thing for me, Ari, and that's race. The only way we're going to heal this country is with a man that understands and appreciates the diversity of this nation. I think Biden does. And I know for fact Donald Trump doesn't. He will never appreciate the diversity that has made this country great.
Yeah, and that's obviously, as so many Americans know, and living through this year and this era, so important. Barbara, similar question to you, and in the context of your brand new book, which as Beat fans were excited about, Tower of Lies, what you know of him that you document in the book and the contrast to Biden.
It's hard to say this because all politicians are basically dishonest, and they have to be. They have to pander to whoever they're talking to. I understand that. But comparison, Biden is honest. Biden doesn't cheat. Biden understands people. Biden cares about people. Trump cares about one thing and one thing only, and it's him and his money and his ego, that tremendous ego. Biden doesn't have that. As far as looking at what Trump did to our country and continues to do to our country today by filling up our Supreme Court with people that are going to violate the Constitution, he's a terror. He's a nightmare. So, Biden is good. Biden has the experience. Biden knows government, all those things. But I can't think of almost anyone that wouldn't be better than Trump.
Michael?
Yeah, look, I have to just add to what Jack and Barbara just said. Donald Trump cares for no one or anything other than himself. I've often said, and I said it in front of the House Oversight, he's a con man, he's a fraud, he's a racist. I've also stated he's a homophobe, Islamophobe, anti-Semite, sexist, misogynist. The notion that there's even a competition at this moment in our time. Foreign policy, everything all across the board. The metrics favor Joe Biden over Donald Trump. And I really do believe, and I told you I put my money where my mouth is, I believe that this is going to be a landslide victory for Joe Biden. I really do.
Well, I see Barbara crossing her fingers, and that again
I
is
don't want to
from
hold
people.
back now for a second, Ari. I don't want to hold back at all. Is there anything else you want me to add to that mixture? I mean,
Well, it's quite a
you know,
list.
seriously,
This is my follow-up to you, Michael. I think that Michael and then Barbara, you are some of the individuals who know Donald Trump best, and you say he is the worst. Michael,
well, he is.
Why is that? First, Michael, then Barbara.
He's just a gigantic baby who's gotten everything that he's wanted his entire life, the way that he wanted it. He's never had to take responsibility for any of his actions. Everybody else figured out, from Fred, his father, all the way down to myself. Everybody took responsibility, whether it's his dirty deeds or his malfeasance or his errors. It's always, look at the finger pointing that's going on right now in Washington, right? COVID, whether it's or the nonsense that's coming out of Jared Kushner's mouth now about, you know, how black people don't want to be successful. The stupidity just rolls downhill. And Donald Trump will now, whether it's Mark Meadows or Jared, he will point the finger, and somebody, if it wasn't at the 7 days before he loses, somebody would have been fired today.
Barbara?
Yeah, I watched him evolve, and I understand. I read Michael's book and Jack's, and I understand the relationship that each of them had. Mine was very, very different. I was there in the beginning, and the ego was somewhat under control, but the big difference was that he listened to people. He had very good people, as opposed to now where he doesn't have such good people, and there's a reason for that. But he listened to people, and he took their advice, and that's part of why he was successful. I think it's the whole part, actually. The only thing that he really did well was PR. He could PR better than anyone else in the world. But now I see, you know, with the changes, you know, and I watched this happen and sort of predicted it, I can see that, you know, Michael had a much different relationship with Donald. In ways they were closer, but in ways Donald beat the hell out of him and didn't, you know, with me. And, you know, it's a changing thing. He's bad, and he's worse, and, you know, and he's worse yet. But it was always there.
Jack?
Well, Ari, he's the worst, and you haven't seen anything yet. I
feel, Jack, because I work in the news, I feel like I've seen something.
You've seen something, Ari, but I promise you 4 more years of him unleashed, where he really doesn't have to pander to anybody, including the Republicans. I don't think people can really understand the chaos, the anarchy that this guy can cause, and I think that's what he's waiting for. It's who he is, you know, at his core. He loves anarchy, and quite frankly, he doesn't like Republicans. And I think if he wins, you're going to see that very clearly.
Yeah, that's striking, and Michael's spoken bluntly about that. I'm running out of time. I'll do a final lightning round. If you wake up when the election results are in, whether it's that night, the next day, or days later, sometimes it takes longer to count, but when they come in, and you find out that Donald Trump has lost, your feeling in a word or a sentence, quickly, Jack?
Relief, Ari. I'll be relieved for our country. Very, very simple.
Barbara?
I'll start to believe again.
Michael?
Yeah, I'll be relieved as well. I think it's about time that the country needs to heal, and that we can't do it with him as the captain of chaos.
All striking and really thoughtful ideas, analysis, and first-person experience, which voters then can see and listen to tonight and make up their own minds. But clearly, all of you have put something on the line for this. So we appreciate your time. Michael Cohen, Barbara Rez, Jack O'Donnell, exclusive panel only here on The Beat. We appreciate you. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.
John Heilman, I must start with you because you're now out and about. There is something about President Obama on the trail in 2020. There is a feeling of pent up
A while ago, I proved to you that 0 was equal to 1, and I did that by using an infinite series. I could have proven that 0 was equal to any number. I just chose 1. And once you prove 0 is equal to any number, you can add or subtract any number from both sides. You can prove any number is equal to any number. But today I'm going to prove by a different method that 1 equals 2. Believe it or not. So prove. Let, for example, A equals B. Whatever A is, B is the same thing. Then multiply both sides by A. You get A squared equals AB. Then subtract B squared from both sides. All legal operations. Then you can factor both sides by a different method. Left-hand side, difference of squares. So what do you get?
A plus B.
A plus B times A minus B. On the right-hand side, you can factor by factoring a common factor, by factoring out B, and you get A minus B. You know, we're drawing down before you say anything. At this point, I can divide both sides by A minus B. In other words, I can just cancel A minus B. So I get A plus B equals B.
Yeah.
But A is equal to B. So that's the same as B plus B equals B. Because A is equal to B. Or 2B equals 1. 2B or not 2B. This is not 2B here. This is just B. Divide both sides by B. You get 2 equals 1. QED. Big fat check mark.
Impossible. Whoa.
Whoa, what's wrong here? 2 equals 1. Oh, Shu, be quiet. Shu knows. I'll get him to give us the answer in a minute. What's wrong here? If there's nothing wrong, this must be true.
Oh.
Very logical.
What if A and B equals to 0?
Well, they could, but they're equal to anything.
A cannot be equal to B.
It is equal to B. I said so.
Why Shu?
Why?
Magic.
Shu.
Because when you cancel A minus B, you have to make sure A minus B is not 0. But you said A equal to B, so A minus B is 0.
Right, you're on the right track, John. It's not that they can't be 0. They can't be the same number, because if they're the same number, well, they can be the same number, but then if you can't divide by A minus B. That's what I'm really doing when I cancel, because A minus B equals 0. Oh. When you divide by 0, all sorts of weird things can happen. You can prove all sorts of interesting things when you divide by 0. So don't divide by 0 or you'll end up proving this. And then nothing in the universe will make sense. Alright? Or you'll end up proving this. And then nothing in the universe will make sense. Well, they can be the same number, but then if you can't divide by A minus B. That's what I'm really doing when I cancel, because A minus B equals 0. Oh. When you divide by 0, all sorts of weird things can happen. You can prove all sorts of interesting things when you divide by 0. So don't divide by 0 or you'll end up proving this. And then nothing in the universe will make sense. Okay, there you have it. Thank you, Ben.
Дайте угадаю. Вы слишком заняты, чтобы смотреть эту рекламу. Так же, как вы были слишком заняты, когда нужно было учить английский?
даже есть собирался, что не ем. Дуэт органов.
And you're watching the new video tutorial on pianocareeracademy.com as part of my holistic piano coaching program. If you're not happy with your technical skills and you're tired of playing endless boring finger exercises without seeing any results, if you want to transform your technique and your expressive skills in a fun, productive and enjoyable manner, plus learn how to play with professional ease, fluidity, power and brilliance, then I have good news for you. Today I'm launching a new project that I'm really excited about. It's entitled How to Practice Piano Scales and Arpeggios, the art behind the exercise. And it's a holistic step-by-step practice guide dedicated to the art of practicing scales according to the system and methodical order we use in the Russian piano school for shaping the outstanding results that you see in the performance of great pianists. In today's introductory lesson, I'm going to tell you why we need to practice scales in the first place and what are the benefits of piano scales and arpeggios. But before diving into this most important...
Mandarin is really good study. Where is my job? Where is my work?
topic, I want to share with you a few more details about this entire project. Our scale series will consist of more than 80 lessons structured as progressive episodes. Moreover, we'll be advancing simultaneously on 3 levels, which means that beginner lesson 1, intermediate lesson 1 and advanced lesson 1 will be live at the same time, and then we'll continue to move forward on each level in a progressive manner. This tutorial is addressed not only to piano students and enthusiasts of all ages and skill levels, but also to piano teachers who want to discover the professional principles of the Russian piano school. Today's introductory lesson will be available on YouTube, and you can find all the other step-by-step episodes, including detailed downloadable scale charts, on my piano coaching program at pianocareeracademy.com.
Нет, наверное. Perhaps, okay. Well, I don't know.
So, why do we need to practice scales, which seems so boring at first glance? Practicing scales in a systematic manner will improve 4 fundamental aspects of your pianistic skill set: your technique, your theoretical understanding of tonalities and your harmonic thinking, your hearing, and also your expressiveness. Now let's take a closer look at the technical benefits, because they are the main ones when it comes to scales. Incorporating scales in your daily practice routine is the most efficient shortcut, and it's an indissoluble part of every great pianist's journey. Scales are the perfect piano work technique in a natural, harmonious way. Scales will also prepare your arms, wrists, and fingers for the practice to come. A proper warm-up is the most efficient productivity accelerator in musical practice. Complicated pieces while your arm and hand muscles are still cold and stiff. A 15 to 30 minute warm-up is the perfect start for a great practice session. Practicing scales is the perfect way of developing the most important elements of piano technique. Correct whole arm key attack, quality sound, freedom of motion, relaxed playing, stability and control, correct wrist action, freedom of motion, correct whole arm key attack, quality sound, freedom of motion, relaxed playing, stability and control, correct wrist action, finger strength, correct thumb crossings, which in fact are the cornerstone, the pivoting point around which revolves the entire piano technique. Dexterity, evenness, precision and speed. Coordination between both your hands and also between your mind and your hands. Regular scale practice will help you to coordinate your inner hearing with your pianistic gestures, so that everything you imagine can be instantly transferred into actual physical movements that can bring out your intentions. Scale practice will help develop both your hands in an equal manner, which usually is a big problem because most people use one hand better than the other one. And you'll also notice that your ability to multitask will greatly improve as a result of regular scale practice. Scales are a true encyclopedia of pianistic technical patterns, of fingering formulas and positional blueprints that can be found in lots of pieces. Once you master these patterns, you'll empower your technical skills with a set of universal keys that can unlock most passages and crack the code, so to speak, of most technical difficulties. And naturally, each time you come across such a pattern in a piece, you'll be able to play it with ease without losing time and effort for learning it from scratch. Let me give you only a couple of examples. Classical music abounds in scales and scale-like patterns. Here is a fragment from the first movement of Mozart's Sonata in C major, Köchel 545. If you learned the C major and D minor scales before starting to practice this piece, you'll notice that you can play these passages without any problem because the formulas are already mastered. Here is how we start the solo part from Beethoven's Concerto No. 3 in C minor for piano and orchestra. Here, as you probably noticed, we have a C minor scale, the melodic variation. In Beethoven's Sonata Opus 27 No. 2 Moonlight, in the third movement, we have short arpeggios. First is C sharp minor, then in G sharp major, and so on. In romantic music, we can find lots of scale-like passages and patterns as well. For example, Schubert's Impromptu Opus 19 No. 2 is built on a E-flat major scale. And so on. In Schubert's Impromptu Opus 19 No. 4, on the other hand, we have a form of short arpeggios. Now let's take a look at a wonderful, impetuous chromatic scale from Chopin's Scherzo No. 1. Another great example of scales used in virtuosi chromatic music is the ending of Chopin's Winter Wind Etude, Opus 25, No. 11. As you can see here, we have an A minor melodic scale. Another great example that I love is the combination of 4-note chords in the right hand with arpeggios in the left hand in Rachmaninoff's Prelude Opus 23, No. 5, the middle section. How can we forget the majestic, powerful chords from Rachmaninoff's famous Prelude, Opus 3, No. 2. Even if scales comprise the most important pianistic technical formulas, they do not cover the entire complexity. Now that we made a very quick overview of the technical benefits of playing scales, let's see how these magical exercises can improve your hearing, your understanding of tonalities, and your expressiveness. We all know that we learn by doing. In other words, an ounce of action is worth a ton of theory. Musical theory is not an easy topic, and you'll never be able to grasp all these subtleties simply by reading books. Here is when scales come to our rescue. Scales teach us in a practical, not theoretical way, the system of modes and tonalities, and also the circle of fifths and fourths. We can even say that scales are the multiplication table of the musical language. Yes, we can learn by heart the...
I don't know, maybe because of my teeth, maybe because of... I don't know anyway. Yeah, because we don't need it. Yeah. So if the work, yeah, I'll make it, yeah. You know, if I have to be Так. Да. Что это взять? Я при себе говорил тогда. И что дальше? such a... What should I shame of it or what? What do you mean? Okay. Pleasant говорит, наоборот. Так. Нет.